If you're planning to be in the Los Angeles area and would like free tickets to Politically Incorrect, call 213-852-2...
Okay, we were talking about President Clinton's problems. As usual, no one answered the question. And I was asking whether, you know, with this situation, are we really crippling this country? Are we going to become a pitiful, pantless giant?
It depends on how far this is going to go.
People are laughing at him. I mean, he's on this trip. He was laughed and mocked at in different countries. Now he's got 3 years left or more in office. Can we afford it?
Maybe.
But it's possible. Why is it impossible for someone to be human and also to be making political decisions? No one's laughing at him when he's signing an agreement, you know, NAFTA or he's with Yeltsin. They're only laughing at him when he's pretending not to have a deformed penis, right? But no one's, as a legislator, he's beyond above reproach. But
I enjoyed the Bulls Heat game. I didn't care if the guy bit some broad's back.
You know, that's right. That's right.
Yes! But it all depends on how far this is going to go. I mean, are we going to have a police artist kind of do a sketch of the president's genitalia?
No, you can enjoy, but seriously,
if he does, I'd like to know, circumcised or uncircumcised.
Well, you see,
because you know there was a recent study.
Could help him in his Israeli deliberations if he's not.
But beyond that, you know, have you heard about the recent study that uncircumcised men have more fun?
No, I haven't.
Anybody wants to? Do you want to have an informal focus group here?
I agree with Norm. I think we can
is
enjoy
that?
him on both levels, which as a stick man and also as a legislator, and in the way that you can. The fact that Marv Alpert is not he's not less of a newscast of a sportscaster because he's been accused.
Sportscaster.
Doesn't matter.
The president. What do you mean it doesn't matter? You equate a sportscaster with the president?
Why not? I mean, they're both looking for airtime and ink, aren't they?
Personally, I think all of Clinton's opponents have a PhD, which is President Hating degree.
Yeah.
That's what they have. I mean, it's true. You have to be able to separate the two. As you said, as a legislator, as a world leader, I think he's well respected. But I think his indiscretions or whatever. I mean, I think that's a separate issue, and I think.
But Nixon was effective in a lot of the things he does. He was brought down by his scandal in his second term. Reagan was effective.
Different kind of scandal.
Reagan had Iran-Contra.
But Nixon didn't have a dipstick problem. You know who has it?
Bill,
This guy.
Bill, what was this book about? What was the book about again?
You know,
I got to read that dirty thesaurus that you have.
No, but you know, a better example is the royal family. The royal family, they're being brought down by this kind of thing. But people say they're human. Nixon,
but they're not actually governing. They're just figureheads. They're people on a stamp. This man is actually running the world, and people are not paying attention to that because all they want to hear about is, don't give me another one. But you know.
But what was interesting that the news came out when he was in Paris, and of course in Paris nobody would have cared. I mean, you had François Mitterrand before he died, who had an official mistress, an illegitimate daughter, and when the press asked him about it, he said "et alors," which vaguely translated means "and so what?"
Right.
And nobody minded.
But I mind if he's hitting on this woman and she doesn't want to be hit on, because that's sexual harassment, and that's, you know, the Anita Hill business. Obviously, Clarence Thomas had something to answer for. We assume, but there's no detail in this. There's no Coke can, you know. There's no Long Dong Silver. There's just, you know, there's nothing really to get your hands on.
No smoking.
All right.
No smoking penis.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to talk about China. Let's talk a little bit about China because, Paul, you are an expert. This is your book. As you can see, it looks like many of the menus that you get in restaurants.
I said it had to look like a Chinese menu.
It really does.
It must look like
exactly like a menu. But I know you know a lot about it, and I don't, but here's what I think.
Don't be silly. I heard you speaking Mandarin backstage.
Clinton just re-upped the most favored nation status, which some people have said we shouldn't do. They say we should break off relations with China because China, admittedly, has, you know, as bad a human rights record as Don King. I don't know. It's just bad. But China is a very isolationist country. Historically, they built a wall. I don't know if you know that. And if
That's the Berlin Wall.
No. That's a different wall. That's in Egypt. And if we break off with them, I think they'll just say, well, the hell with you, and go on doing what they're doing anyway. I think the only way to bring them into the family of nations, and I know this is what the president says, but not just this president, many others, is to engage with them. Why is that wrong?
It's not wrong. We already owe them so much money. We can't break off with them. We have so many slave laborers and little kiddies earning 10 cents a day to make tennis shoes that we owe them a ton of money. We can't break off. I mean, they're not.
Of course, in other words, we can break off. Of course, we can break off. First of all, the president himself in 1992 attacked President Bush for coddling the butchers of Beijing. Do you remember that?
Well,
now
that
here
was
we
during
are.
a campaign.
He doesn't just want to extend most favored nation status permanently. He wants to toast them, celebrate them, honor them. I mean, can't we just trade with them? Do we have to respect them in the morning?
But the whole world,
It's tough.
the whole. I agree. I don't know why they're the most favored nation, but we do owe them a ton of money. The fact is that they make stuff for the whole world. Every Christmas decoration in the whole world is made in China. Forget Nikes, you know.
Well, that lets you know that the issue is money. Clearly, the issue has to be money. I was telling Arianna, I saw a documentary that really detailed the whole events in Tiananmen Square. I mean, and this was some really deep stuff. And if anyone saw that, you know, they would say, well, this is wrong. How can we support any regime or any government that supports this? It was like 2 weeks of Kent State, you know, day and night. But when it's not like, clearly the issue's money.
You approved of Tiananmen Square, so did Al Haig.
Yeah,
everyone's saying
that doesn't make it right.
No, it's not right. No, it's not right. I think it's despicable. I think it's an abomination. I think it's an abomination. I don't think we should give them most favored nation. I agree with you.
But why not? Because if we break off, other people will trade with them, and they won't change.
Everyone trades with them.
Isn't it hubris to think that we can change China any more than China could change us by making campaign contributions?
Do you know what's the percentage?
Well, we're bending. It's not just that we're not doing anything. We're bending over. The whole world is bending over for them and saying, "Do it to me."
Okay?
It's not.
On that note, Norm,
stop.
But it's a fact. It is a fact. It is a fact. Because Clinton has a single-faceted policy, which is just trade, nothing else.
But also, do you know what percentage of our exports goes to China? Just 2%. So this is a big myth that somehow exports. Yes, the only 2%. That's not much. And on top of it, please explain to me why we don't give most favored nation status to Cuba, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, but we give it to China. It doesn't make any sense.
Because they got money. Cuba.
It's bucks.
Just like, what about, Saudi Arabia? They have human rights violations there, but they have oil. We don't even hear a peep out of that.
Well, that's where it's uneven. The policy is clearly uneven. And,
right.
I mean, you'd think that, someone should come out and say, this is what it is. But
what I find amusing is that no one knows. If people approve and say, Tiananmen Square, that's all right. But they don't know how many people got killed. They say, it's all right, I might have killed a few. But no one, even Kissinger, brain that he is, doesn't know how many people got killed, but saying, it's okay. Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore, they said, it's okay, you have to disperse the students. No one knows how many got killed.
Well, how many, Mr. Expert?
Well, I don't know. That's the whole point. If I knew.
I'll tell you why nobody knows, because people forget a very important thing. The Chinese are a lot smarter than us. So it's hard to criticize. But some things we excel at that they don't.
One thing they excel
at. I have
never
seen a Chinese guy in a porno. You know what I mean?
I got to take a break. We'll be right. Monday, we're going to have Dennis Miller, Mike Farrell, Ann Coulter, and Ann Richards of Texas. And I would never lie to my audience. That is a repeat. After working for 5 straight months, the politically incorrect staff gets a well-deserved break next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please. But so we may be off when the Tim McVeigh verdict comes in, and a lot of people think he's going to be found guilty, and they said they could send him to the gas chamber or the electric chair. I wanted to ask, do you think that's a wise thing to send somebody to his death who has a following out there to make him a martyr or not?
Yeah, I think make him a martyr. Then when a lot of people...
You're a weird guy.
When they,
You're a weird guy.
And when they come out of the woodwork, when all these people come out of the woodwork saying, what did you do to Tim? Machine gun them.
Kind of like the Chinese.
More or less. They shoot him in the back of the neck.
Oh, okay. Well,
you can't treat the militia groups rationally and say if